You are listening to the Sinister DreamCast Network.
Welcome to Sinister DreamCast.
Hello and welcome to Sinister DreamCast. I am Kizina. So this week it's going to be a bit of a shorter episode. It's not going to be anyone other than myself. As this past week transpired, I had more and more trouble getting the oomph together to being able to find people to be on this week's episode of Sinister DreamCast, just because the mood in general is so dour. There's so much dread, and it seemed damn near impossible for me to try to host an episode of Sinister Dreamcast with people talking about pop culture and talking about escapism while this horribleness loomed over us. I'm a filmmaker. As most of you know, unless this is your first episode, I'm a filmmaker, and I've kind of devoted my style and my interest in filmmaking towards escapism, because I believe that escapism is an important part of the human psyche. We need this. Life in general is overwhelming. It's just how it is. Like the way that our society is built, and the way that just life in general, even if we didn't have society, we would have to worry about being killed by animals, and just like our ancient ancestors. But this week, it's kind of hard for me to be like, Star Wars, brr, 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 whenever there's so much hate and xenophobia in the world. It's kind of dumbfounding. I can't do it. I just can't do it. I can't bring the members of SDP together and be like, let's not talk about politics. And it's also, I don't want to bring everyone together to talk about politics, because it's just going to be everyone saying what everyone else is saying, and it's not. It will be a lot of yelling. It will be a lot of yelling, and right now, I don't know if yelling is going to be the most constructive use of our time. And I know that's super easy for me to say, being a cis, white, straight male. But I do think we as a country, and we as those who are more liberal-minded, need to take a deep breath. And we need to be constructive with what we do, just because that's what we have over on the other side. The people who see Trump's election as an opportunity for their racism, their bigotry, their xenophobia, giving them a carte blanche. It's what we have. It's our intelligence. This might seem elitist or whatever, but I've always valued the left side's ability to think things through more so than just, berserker shit and get things done that way. That's the reason why, at the end of the day, I almost always consider myself a liberal, because I put a lot of value in the brain. I put a lot of value in our intelligence. That's what makes us humans. So I feel like we just need to take a deep breath, and we just need to look at the landscape. I mean, at this point, we still got 2 months of Obama still, so we're not living. I mean, granted, I know that doesn't really mean much, seeing that a lot of the Trump supporters are kind of ignoring that fact, and, Trump is the president, even though he isn't right now, at this present time. But I do think we just need to take a deep breath, and we need to look at the landscape, and we need to come together and figure out what we need to do. I feel like we need to use these 2 months wisely. And like I said, talking about pop culture right now doesn't seem like the best way for us to use that time. And I mean, also on top of that, I'm just afraid of if we get together and we have like a big bench session, which was after Tuesday, because we didn't record on Monday. I was intending to do, and I was intending to call the episode Releasing the Demons, but like as time goes on, I don't know if that is the most constructive use of our time. I think it might be just something that we need to all deal with personally, and not for a podcasting audience necessarily. I mean, I'm sure there's 1,000,000,001 podcasts where you can also hear people who are just a little bit more intelligent, a little bit more, or not intelligent, more I want to say well-informed. No, have a better grasp on things, I guess would be the best way to put it. Instead of us. I kind of want to keep us primarily in the realm of escapism, but like I said, we can't do that right now. That's it. Though I feel like this podcast and this company's job is to provide escapism for everybody, I feel like it's terribly irresponsible of me to not kind of take a week and go, this isn't what people want to hear at the moment. We have 52 other weeks a year where we can provide plenty of escapism for you guys. And I feel like an hour, 2 hours worth of escapism is what everyone's going to need in the next 4 years, for sure. So, especially if you're not, a white piece of shit. So, I just wanted to take this time because I wanted to post something. I didn't want us to go completely black on this week. I felt like we, as a company, we have our opinions, and I feel like the best. I felt like I just needed to put something here. I wanted to explain why there isn't really a traditional episode of Sinister DreamCast up, and I also kind of selfishly, I suppose, I wanted to get my thoughts out there to everyone. Whatever they may mean to you. I mean, you may have been a Trump supporter and you're like, oh, Hillary was horrible, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, but I would rather have someone who is rife with scandal than someone who promotes xenophobia and racism and sexism as my president. I'm a big proponent of forgiveness. That's a holdover from my Catholic upbringing that, we are all forgiven if we want to be forgiven. And what someone has done in their past, be it scandals or whatnot, if they are truly sorry or if they've learned from those mistakes, because that's, failure equals learning, they should be forgiven and it should not be held against them. Whereas if you have someone who is constantly talking about how horrible black people are, how horrible Muslims are, and how women essentially need to stay in their place, I don't really feel like you're looking to be forgiven. I feel like that's just the horrible person that you are. So, but that's just my 2 thoughts on it. I typically don't want to talk too much politics because my back's always against the wall. Like I said earlier in the podcast, I'm a white cis straight male, so like there's not much that's that's going to affect me in the long and short of it, just because I'm by default part of the ruling group. So that's why I usually try to keep my my opinions private, and I try to keep my opinions to myself for the most part. That's the most I ever try to do on this podcast, is just try to get people thinking, and just try to look objectively. But like right now, I don't even know if I can do that. At this point, I feel like my job as being a default member of the ruling class is for me to call out other white people whenever they're being pieces of shit. Otherwise, I'm just gonna kind of sit. I'm just gonna kind of keep quiet and support those who need to be supported right now. So I'm gonna, this is week's episode. I know it's gonna be super short. It's gonna be a quick listen for you. Next week we're gonna be back with shenanigans. Don't worry. Next week we'll have our episode about pop analysis of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2: Secret of the Ooze, which I'm hoping after a week is going to be much needed. I'm hoping it will be more useful to people next week as opposed to me putting another, but Luke, Star Wars episode this week would be. So, if you are, and I think I generally know our audience. I think I generally know the people that listen, and I know that a lot of you are very empathetic and forward-minded people. So one thing that I've been really trying to get people to do, and something that I'll be doing on my next paycheck, is contributing to the ACLU. Because I feel like that's one of the most important organizations, and will be one of the most important organizations in the next 4 years. Because they are colorblind in the best possible way. Normally, colorblind's a horrible, horrible thing, but like they don't care. It's all about the Constitution and about having people's civil liberties defended. And I feel like the ACLU is going to need all the help they can get the next 4 years. They've already said that they are going to oppose Trump every possible chance they get. So I would highly recommend you contributing to the ACLU. Their website is aclu.org. Or if you forget this, aclu.com also redirects you to aclu.org and contribute there. I used to be a member. I let my membership lapse, but I think now is a good time to help contribute to them because they're going to need it. So I'm gonna stop now. I'm gonna end it there. But I think it's time for all of us to take some time and reflect. And I think it's time for all of us to really look at ourselves and think, is this what we want to be seen as? Because I don't think that's what we want it to be. I really hope not. I'm holding solace in the fact that Trump is a liar, and I'm hoping that he just said all those things. I think he's a racist. I know on the previously I said that I don't know if he was a racist because I think that he was saying what he needs to say to get elected, but things have come out since then that I'm like, no, he's a fucking racist. But I'm really hoping that he said all this kind of shit as some real fucked up theater just to try to get into the White House, and he just goes back on every single one of his campaign promises. As of November 11th, whenever I'm recording this, he already I read that he already took pro-life off of his agenda. So hopefully he just spends the next 4 years in the White House playing with himself and just goes back on every single one of his campaign promises from here on out. So, but yeah, stay tuned next week. We will have one of those good old-fashioned escapist episodes for you about TMNT 2 and contribute to the ACLU. They're going to need it for the next 4 years. So, on that note, I am Nick Kizina. You can follow me on Instagram at Sinister DreamCast with no E in Sinister. May the Force be with you, and stay safe out there. Love you. Bye.
Thank you, and may the Force be with you.
You have been listening to the Sinister DreamCast Network. For more from Sinister Dream Productions, check out www.sinisterdream.com.